All right.
Hi Anderson, my name is Lloyd Chapman and I'm president and founder of the American Small Business League, and we would really love to see you do our issue on your show keeping them honest. For about 12 years now I've fought the federal government in federal court, in the press, trying to get them to stop giving federal small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms. And I'll tell you why this is important. We're in the middle of the worst economic downturn in 80 years. The fact is that based upon the U.S. Census Bureau data, small business is responsible for over 90% of all net new jobs. The Kauffman Foundation has found that small business is responsible for 100% of all net new jobs. And the biggest federal program to try to invest in the middle class and create jobs is the Small Business Act. That's not mentioned on national television ever. I've seen the debates and they talk about jobs and investing in the middle class. No one mentions that small businesses create the overwhelming majority of all net new jobs. And the biggest program is the Small Business Act. If you're not familiar with it, the Small Business Act was passed in 1953, and today it says that a minimum of 23% of the total value of all federal contracts and subcontracts should go to small businesses. Makes sense. Small businesses employ half the private sector workforce. They're responsible for half the gross domestic product. In addition to over 90% of all net new jobs, according to the Census Bureau, they're also 90% of all U.S. exporters are small businesses. So these are all facts. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are facts that small businesses are the engine of economic growth, and the best program for small businesses has been hijacked by Fortune 500 firms. Here's a statement by the SBA Inspector General from 2005. Let me read it to you here. It says, one of the biggest challenges facing the Small Business Administration and the entire federal government today is that large businesses are receiving small business procurement awards and agencies are receiving credit for these awards. Report 515, that was in 2005. Now Anderson, Inspector Generals are not prone to being conspiracy nuts and lunatics. They're very conservative. And for them to say this is one of the largest challenges facing the SBA and the entire federal government today, that's a strong statement. Now here's what's fascinating, Anderson. The SBA, I think since 2005, there's been, I think, maybe 4 or 5 different SBA Inspector Generals. And the woman who Barack Obama appointed to be the Inspector General, every year that he's been president, they have reiterated every year that this is still the #1 challenge at the agency. In February of 2008, President Obama released a statement, it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants. That has not happened. I'm just going to talk to you about facts. I'm not going to give you my opinion because the government will tell you I'm a conspiracy nut and a lunatic, which I am not. But and I'll show you that in just a second. So here's another thing I want to show you. I sued the SBA a few years ago when I asked them for the names of firms that got small business contracts. And the Small Business Administration told the federal courts in San Francisco that they had no idea who got federal small business contracts. Here's what the judge says. Marilyn Patel, the court finds curious that the SBA's argument that it does not control the very information it needs to carry out its mission and functions. Judge Marilyn Patel. To me, Anderson, that's a nice way of saying that they lied. Because she ruled in my favor, she forced them to release the information to me, and guess what I found? Thousands of the biggest companies around the world getting federal small business contracts. All right? Here's something from, did this come from the GAO, of GAO, yeah, General Accounting Office. Read this. By failing to hold firms accountable, SBA and contracting agencies have sent a message to the contracting community that there is no punishment or consequences for committing fraud. That's a strong statement. The General Accounting Office, again, not conspiracy nuts and lunatics. So everything I say, I'm just reading the reports. I'm not making this stuff up. If the government hit the 23% goal, it would be, somewhere between $1 and $200 billion a year. I've been suing the government for 20 years, and all my research seems to indicate that they're getting maybe $30 billion. So if we can stop this problem and simply get the government to stop giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms and some of the biggest companies around the world, that would redirect more existing federal infrastructure spending into the middle class and create more jobs than anything President Obama or President Bush ever proposed. It's a big deal. And you're someone that can have a huge impact on this. This has gone on for 14 years, and it's been in every major newspaper in the country. I've got a lot of stories around here framed. It's been on most of the major television networks. Most recently, NBC did a study here in Northern California and found IBM, Oracle, and Hewlett-Packard getting small business contracts. Let me see what else I've got to show you. Here's an example that I pulled from the Small Business Administration's database of small businesses in 2002. ProNet was the name of the SBA's database of small businesses. Office Max. Let's see what it says here. 23,500 employees. Can you see that? And what is that? $3.1 billion in sales. And that was in the database of small businesses. They were getting small business contracts. I forced them to take it off. T-Mobile, 18,000 employees, $2 billion in sales. By the way, federal law defines a small business as having less than 1,500 employees and being independently owned. Any publicly traded company is not independently owned and wouldn't qualify. What else do we have here? Here's an example here we got from the Federal Procurement Data System. Here's a contract between NASA and General Dynamics, and it's for $28 million. And over here, under companies business size determination, can you see that? It says S for small business. What else do we have? We've got tons of this stuff. Here's one, again from 2002. Office Depot was in the government's database of small businesses. 44,000 employees and $12 billion in sales. I got a congressional investigation. The Associated Press picked up the story. It ran in 44 newspapers across the country. I thought it was over. I was wrong. It's gotten worse. And I'm just talking about facts, Anderson. If you look at the most recent data from the Federal Procurement Data System released by the Obama administration, of the top 100 recipients of federal small business contracts, 72 are large businesses, including Roseborn Exports, which is a international Russian arms dealer, Finmeccanica, an Italian fence contractor with 76,000 employees, Rolls-Royce, British Aerospace, and pretty much a who's who of Fortune 500 firms here in America. So here in America, you've got all these issues that I think are kind of 50-50 issues, right? Like gun control and different things. But I hope you'll agree with me that 100% of your viewers would agree with Lloyd Chapman that Fortune 500 firms should not be getting contracts that by law should be going to America's small businesses. Again, small businesses create all the net new jobs, half the gross domestic product, half the private sector workforce, 90% of exports. So please, take a look at this. Just take a look at it. By the way, the government says these are anomalies. It's not anomalies. It's gone on for 14 years. Anomalies like getting struck by lightning. Every year, for some of the biggest companies in the world to get small business contracts year after year after year, that's not an anomaly. Please take a look at it. You can do a lot of good for America here, create a lot of jobs and solve a big problem, but it's going to take somebody like you, I'm afraid, to get it solved. So please take a look at it, and we'll give you all the information you need. You can talk to the Inspector General, you can talk to the GAO, and think about doing it on your show, Keeping Them Honest, okay? We'd really appreciate it. Thanks.